Hello. This is
Oh,
a road trip.
mm,
Yes. No, we're in the city. We don't need our car. We're taking public transport. And yeah, while we're in Brooklyn, we thought, hey, why not go and have some fun down in Coney Island?
ah,
Sort of. Um, one one one
fun.
of them, yes. The other one I may have misremembered. Never mind.
May have misremembered.
It's Coney Island, so it's all the fun of the fair. It's fine. So yes, it is I, Clive Davis, and he,
Ron Scott, hello.
our state by state regional horror trip
State
across
by
the
state,
United States.
or city block by city block.
Well, we're going. We got to New York, and then we moved from state to borough, and now we've actually we've zeroed in on Coney Island, but we'll be out of here next episode.
Which borough is Coney Island in? It's not his own borough, right?
It's Brooklyn.
Is it Brooklyn?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think so. Down the bottom of Brooklyn. Yeah, I think so. I did know this once upon a time, but I've forgotten now. Doesn't matter.
Sure, there's lots of people like our millions of watchers that will
Yelling
will comment below, right? So.
Right. Oh, sure they will. I mean, to be honest, we disabled it. That's why we don't actually get even one. It's not because no one's interested.
Oh, did you disable it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Honest. So, the Ultimate Degenerate and Carnival of Blood, two of Ron's favorites. And so we shall begin with short, actually, both pretty close to each other. The Ultimate Degenerate from '69, Carnival of Blood from 1970. But we shall start with the Ultimate Degenerate, or just the Degenerate. It's also known as. It's on the print, but
also known as, I think, Clive. I think that's.
Is that right? Is this
that's your nickname, right? Isn't that your nickname?
Is this my origin story?
That's your origin story. This is your biopic, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I've yet to be wheelchair bound, but I suppose it could happen.
It's your future.
So in this black and white masterpiece, Uta Eriksson plays a frisky young woman living in New York City who gets bored, right, of her boring girlfriend who doesn't like having sex with the curtain open so that the old geezer across the road can watch. She's very kind of buttoned down and normal and boring for Uta Eriksson. So Uta Eriksson answers an ad in the paper. Someone in Vermont. I don't think they went to Vermont. I think they pretty much stayed in New York. And she's someone looking for, well, perverts, I suppose, or people who don't mind dancing nude and are sexually curious, right? So off she goes first via Coney Island. It does at least have one scene in Coney Island,
right?
Where she meets.
I do not fault you for the location.
Right. It's
the only thing I don't fault you for.
Okay. Where she meets the go-between guy who's so I didn't know this fella, but I was thinking you might. So Earl Hindman, who apparently later was a regular on the series Home Improvement.
Oh yeah. Actually, I didn't recognize him. Yeah. So, yeah, he played Wilson. So yeah, I didn't recognize. Yeah. So he was. Yeah. So he was the guy behind. He was the neighbor behind the fence. Would go, "Howdy, neighbor," like that, and you would only see this much of it.
I've never seen it. So okay.
Yeah. So it was like the
sitcom comical neighbor.
Yeah, it's just the neighbor that he was next door, but you would only see this much of his head because he was always behind the fence.
So that's why you didn't recognize it.
So yeah, I probably didn't recognize it because you never really see his face that much, right? So
if he'd have had a fence on his face in this film, he would have. Oh, look, it's
it's Wilson.
Yeah. So anyway, that is him. I suppose again, I didn't know the show, but so I suppose if that's that's kind of notable for some people, right? That Wilson from Home Improvement was in this pervy film of the late 60s, this kind of fetish pre-porno film. Yeah, so she's whisked off to Vermont, where she lives in a big house with a bunch of other women who dance naked in the basement, covered in whipped cream, and put on shows. Well, they put on shoes sometimes as well when they go outside. Put on shows for so the director of this film, aka Julian Marsh, Michael Finlay, who's also wrote and produced with his then wife, Roberta Finlay, who's also in it and did the cinematography and was the producer as Anna Riva. He's the wheelchair-bound pervert who, yeah, all these girls are basically performing for, including to quite a nice, like a Motown-like soul number, which might be this tune by someone called The Bit A Sweet. Bit apostrophe A Sweet is the name of it. I don't know if that's who plays this quite cool song, but I quite like it. And then eventually things turn nasty, and he puts pliers on their nipples, electrocutes them with a dildo, and that kind of thing. It just it takes turn for the nasty and sadistic towards the end.
It becomes just more sort of like lightly sadomasochistic. It doesn't actually become like horror movie level though.
Oh, is that your next problem? This isn't a horror film.
Yeah, it would.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's borderline. It's borderline.
I wouldn't call it. I was like, what? I mean, I thought maybe the last 1 minute where he died or something was at the end. It was like it was like it was a whole thing in order for me to set it up so he could die and I could take over. There was an attempt at a twist ending or something, but for the most part, this was just it's softcore porn. It was a fetish film. There was not a horror film.
I apologize on Ron's behalf to all the women out there for his lack of empathy for the clear horror that these young women are going through.
They were enjoying it, so it was like a fetish thing, right? So no, I'm not saying that I would do it. Don't be putting things in my mouth.
Very disappointed in you, Ron.
Yeah, but
I would expect this from me, but not from you.
But the point is, the movie was portraying it as that they were going along with it, not that they were like shocked or being done it against their will, right? That was part of, they were trying to prove to him that they were the ultimate degenerate, right? It was like a contest almost, right? They were trying to find, I mean, my understanding was that they were trying to out degenerate each other.
I don't think they were willing to be electrocuted by that dildo. I think that was just out and out. You know, that was a crime being committed. No consent there, I think.
All right.
Also interesting, it was pronunciation of the word phallus, which is pronounced phallus in this film, which I found quite amusing. There's a phallus. See, I'm easily amused by these things. Yeah, and it does have a twist, quite a hilarious twist ending as well. I thought the fact. I'm not going to mention what it is because it's worth finding out for yourself.
Is it? Is it worth? I don't think it was.
Yeah. So I can tell already that Ron really enjoyed this film.
It was, yeah.
It's kind of. I no point even bother asking, but I will officially ask Ron, what did you make of The Ultimate Degenerate?
It was great.
It was good, wasn't it?
Oh, it's fucking terrible.
Really?
You gotta be kidding me. Like, I was like, come on. Well, first of all, I was like, I was annoyed that it was definitely not a horror film. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't think so. I mean, there was elements of, I mean, yeah, discomfort in it, but I don't think it was by any stretch of imagination. It was sort of like the horror elements were sort of tacked on at the end. It felt like it was like a fetish film that they were trying to make, that they didn't know how to package or market, or I don't know if there was even marketing for this movie, but they didn't know how to categorize it. So I think they added, it felt like they sort of like tacked on this sort of extra stuff at the end and said, "Oh, it's a horror," right? So, but I don't know. I didn't feel.
No, to be honest, it's me saying it's horror. To be honest, the correct subgenre would be the roughie, right? This is a roughie. This is when sexploitation films started to have more, sadomasochistic elements and more misogyny and stuff like that. So it's technically it's a roughie.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never heard that term before.
Well, another example of a pornographic roughie that we did watch would have been Forced Entry, right? I suppose Forced Entry is this film plus hardcore, right? Or maybe even the Enema Bandit, Water Power could be, that's a pornographic roughie, right? Are you losing the will to live already, Ron?
Just going through all of the horrible movies you've made me watch.
So you didn't get anything out of this at all?
Not at all. No, it was I watched it at 1.5 speed because even
really
it's
only
it was,
72 minutes long.
Even at 70 minutes, it was still.
Oh man, that means you didn't get the most of the hilarious pronunciation of fearless. I'm sure that would have.
No, I heard it. I mean, you can still hear everything. It's just sped up a little bit, right? Because I couldn't even spend 70 minutes. I was like, come on. And of course, I made, thinking it was a horror movie, I made the mistake of watching it on the train. So I've got people, I got a crowded train go around me, obviously thinking that I'm watching porn on the train while you're. So, I mean, the one thing I will say went for it is that some of the girls were quite attractive. So it was nice to see, but
including our lead, were you into her, the Uta Eriksson? I was thinking
she was pretty. Yeah. Also, the girlfriend from the beginning was quite pretty, and that one. So.
Oh, the boring one.
Yeah, the boring one. Yeah. But I don't know. But I mean, I watched this movie and I was like, this is a very Clive movie and a very not Ron movie. It was like, this is probably like a really, really good example of movies that you like that I don't. Right. So.
Yeah, no, I did enjoy it. A second time watching it for me, and no, I mean, I think these things are, you have to take them in the context of its kind.
Right.
And when I wrote about this in my book, I actually called this a classic of its kind. And I think I still stand at of its kind. It is a classic of its kind. It's just its kind, I guess, isn't for you.
Isn't for me.
No. Okay, fair enough. Right. We'll move on then to a film I'm sure you enjoyed. Actually, this would be interesting to see.
As terrible as this next movie was, it was still a step up from The Ultimate Degenerate.
Okay, so this is preferable to Ultimate Degenerate.
Well, yeah. Well, we'll say that.
So this is Carnival of Blood, and this is a horror film. Would you agree?
Yes, yeah, or an attempt at it at least, anyway.
Directed, written, produced by one Leonard Kurtzman, who also went on to do hardcore later, actually. Particularly kind of underage themed things like the erotic adventures of Lolita and stuff like that. He was well known for, and he made one other horror film around the same time as well, Curse of the Headless Horseman. He made that in Los Angeles though, so we might not get to that until we get over to the other side of the country. I haven't seen that, so I don't know if it's as fantastic as this one. And this is definitely a Coney Island movie. It's Coney Island. It's a horror film. You can't fault me there, Ron.
No, this was a good choice for this particular subsection of movies you're looking for. Doesn't change the fact that it was still a shitty movie.
Well, no, I will agree with you. I'm not completely insane. I don't live in a totally different universe. This is definitely a trying, kind of somewhat shoddy piece of work, badly shot, badly edited. But I think what I find interesting about this film is it does have atmosphere. Like it's got a real strong, sad, dilapidated kind of midway carnival atmosphere, right? It's not plain. It's got a very strong kind of flavor to it. So this is basically and
worth saying that we've had the last movie which had which had the guy from Home Improvement in it, and this one
Yes.
had Burt Young in it.
Burt Young.
In
Yeah.
his first role. I was like, hey, that's it's Paulie.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
yeah, so, there. So
As
Paulie from Rocky.
as Gimpy.
Gimpy.
Yes. Under the name John Harris. He's not credited.
Right. Yeah, he's not even credited as Burt Young. Yeah. So
this is his first time. No, it's great to. It's, if anything, it's worth watching just to see Burt Young play Gimpy, because he is quite amusing, and he's got. I guess he's hunchbacked, although he's not all the time.
Yeah.
He's got
sometimes
scarring on his face. The
scarring, or it was like the scales, or some sort of like disformity on his face, and he's obviously mentally disabled, and
kind of moves around a little bit, doesn't it? It's like
yeah.
The same place. Yeah, he does the Paulie sorry, Gimpy. This is
he's
nice.
Like, what's the of Mice and Men, the
yes, Lenny.
Lenny, yeah. He's basically he's like the Lenny of Mice and Men kind of.
Yes.
I like the stuffed animals.
Right. Yeah. So yes, and he his assistant to the who we kind of pretty much know from the beginning is the psychopath behind the murders.
Right.
By
like it was a big reveal.
No, I'm not even sure if it was supposed to be.
I think it was. I really think it was supposed to be like, oh, it was him, but no, of course it's not. But I think it was.
Yeah. So basically, the back again, spoilers, but Earl Edgerton is the killer. He's the guy who runs I don't know what you call it. It's not a coconut shy, but it's like burst the balloon. It's not a shooting gallery. Burst the balloons
on the boardwalk.
But what do you call that specific burst the balloon with a dart?
It's break the balloon with a dart. Balloon darts. I guess balloon.
Yeah.
Balloon
so
darts.
I don't know either.
The name of the game is, but you hit a balloon with a dart, and then you get a prize, right? So.
Yeah. And his big hang-up, it seems to be, I guess, when he was younger, his parents were always arguing, and it ended up in some kind of death and trauma. So he basically can't stand seeing couples argue, right? It's his thing. So we start with a couple of a hilarious couple.
And instead of couples arguing, it's always just really, really shrill women yelling at their husbands.
Yeah, there's a slight misogynist slant to it.
It's incredibly shrill, annoying women. Yeah.
And one loses her head in the ghost train ride. They come out the other end, and her head goes. To be fair, there's some gore moments in this film which they're quite grisly, right? Like they're not well done. They're not like they're not like Stan Winston effects or anything like that. But they're quite like someone has their eyeballs pulled out and guts pulled out, and it just looks, it looks unhygienic, right?
Yeah.
Which I quite like. Again, that
it's not like a real gritty, grotty movie.
Yeah, it's like shot on 8mm or 60mm or something. It looks, everything's dark, right? Even when it's daylight, it's dark. So those are the people, and then there's a couple of boring main characters. One he's like an assistant DA or something, right? And his also kind of very unreasonable, shrill hippie girlfriend who gets angry very easily, who lives in an apartment with fucking nets and things on the walls as well for some reason.
Although she has a point that he wants to take her on their anniversary to.
Yeah, he's a dick as well. Yeah.
Cover to like investigate a murder. Okay, right. I mean, you got a point, but at the same time, he
is kind of he's a bit unreasonable, isn't he? So the big thing is that she's in danger because as long as she's in a happy relationship with her boyfriend, then Earl Edgerton's character is fine and everything's good.
And her neighbor too, right? So
But once she turns out that then he's like in her face, "You filthy slut! What do you expect? You're just like all the rest." And he's already given her a teddy bear with guts hidden inside it as well. I'm not quite sure why they didn't smell the guts.
Yeah, well, you could smell that. So. And like some of the most poorly put together teddy bears ever, where like you really just do this and the whole thing just falls apart in their hands.
And I suppose Burt Young's Gimpy, he's the red herring, right?
The red herring, of course. You think it's him,
because he gets angry because a lot of the people who go to this stall like meet him or shout at him or call him names.
Right, yeah.
My
And
favorite,
also Earl Edgerton also has like this whole collection of these stuffed animals, stuffed bears in his home. Like they're his
yes,
friends or whatever.
yes.
He's supposed to be like unhinged and friends with stuffed animals and blah 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 whatever.
And I don't know if this is the actor, or I don't know if this is, I don't know. Is there a slight? He's a little bit camp, isn't he? Because
A
he's
little bit, yeah.
the way his best friends is the girl who lives next door, and she confide. It's a very straight woman, gay man relationship.
Yeah, it felt like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it felt.
Although it's never laid out, and I just suppose it makes a difference either way. But I was just kind of curious if that was supposed to be implied or not. My favorite character, though, by a country mile, is played by Gloria Spivak. And this is the woman who you probably remember, the one who has the cat eyeglasses, the white
the really shrill one.
Yeah, she's fucking great. Like the other, they're just annoying, but she is so outrageously unlikable as to be just. I loved watching her. She's oh no, listen, how long have I been waiting for this hot dog? And just everything is just full on. She was a lot of fun. I enjoyed.
You can tell that it was almost all improvised too, right?
I think so. And to be fair, she does a pretty good job of it.
Yeah.
She's just, I don't know where.
I probably would have killed her too. So
yeah, she's the one who gets her eyes plucked out, right?
Yeah.
So there's no doubt that this is a dreadful film. I've seen this film twice now. I think it's enough. I don't think I need to see it again. First time I saw it, I was watching it, I got drunk and watched it, and I had a pretty good time. I knew it was terrible, but it's just the atmosphere. And once again, this time I did get a kick out of Gloria Spivak. I enjoyed the atmosphere. I enjoyed a pre-stardom Burt Young. So it is a rubbish film, but one I kind of have a slight soft spot, because it does have the atmosphere and the grit and the kind of stench and so that's where I stand with. I'm not a complete lunatic. I'm not about to say it's a masterpiece of horror cinema, but I did kind of have a certain amount of enjoyment out of it. What about Ron Scott?
I think I already basically went through this, right? So yeah, I mean, it was perfectly situated in Coney Island and horror,
right,
more than the other movie. But it was a dredge and a slog to watch get through. So
it's a bit slow there,
it was very, 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 very like not even low budget, no budget. Like it seemed like they were just like, it was almost guerrilla filmmaking where they just took like a camera and then just filmed whatever they were able to do before they got shot away or something.
Did you 1.5 speed this one?
No, this one I watched all the way through, but because I didn't have to sit through like boring sex scenes and women dancing.
Right, that seems to be your particular Achilles heel. Is anything involving sex and nudity, unless it's utilitarian and you're enjoying it, then
I don't know. I just find it really the kind of like, it's I just don't find it fun to watch. I mean, it just doesn't go anywhere, right? So I just feel a filler, right? So
I haven't cracked you yet. I haven't beaten you down.
I would say like, of course I don't like. I'm not saying I dislike looking at naked women,
right?
But I'm just saying it's just sort of like, I don't know. I just find it kind of boring to watch if it's not going anywhere. If it doesn't, it feels just like it was trying to, for that movie, just making the movie longer by adding in this stuff, right? So this one, it was all okay for the plot, but it was a very low budget, simple, kind of poorly shot together, shoddily edited and shoddily directed and shoddily acted, but it was an attempt, so good for them.
I mean, I'm kind of interested because I don't think we've ever really explicitly got, but can you, I mean, obviously I can see you didn't kind of quite groove on some of the elements the way I did, but is it something where I mean, do you know where I'm coming from? Like, can you kind of appreciate the grottiness of it to a certain extent? Maybe not for the whole length of the movie.
This one or Degenerate?
Yeah, of Carnival of Blood. Can you kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I mean, if I was a filmmaker in the 70s in 1970,
Yeah.
probably I would have made a movie like this. Like if it was like me and my camera and I wanted to make a horror movie and I was in Coney Island, hey, let's make a movie. I probably what I would have produced would have been something similar to this, I think, right? So I can't fault them for anything they did because it felt like something that it's like a sort of like a how to make your own horror movie kind of thing, right? So good for him for doing it. But it just, of course, it's not that good, right? It's just
what I mean more than that is not so much
they tried hard.
Not so much not objectively reviewing the movie. I suppose more from a like a more just a purely subjective point of view. Like, so for instance, this film is there's some films which I wish, like, even if the film is not any good or anything, there's a strong enough atmosphere where I wish I could, like, there was a technology where you could pause the film and like climb inside it and kind of look around. Like I'd quite like to go into this Coney Island and have a look and spy on Glorious Vivac climbing and just have a look at Bert Young doing it. It's just like, do you know what I mean? Is that something you can tune into? Just like appreciating it's very ephemeral, right? It's more subject. It's not really about the film being any good or not.
It's a like a slice of 1970s Coney
Island.
Like
it's very very specific. Like nowhere. This is this place, this time, right now.
Yeah, you can't see this anymore or find it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So is that something you? Oh, is that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can. I mean, I can appreciate the movie for what it tried to do and for what it is.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's a fun. It's not really that enjoyable of a movie itself.
Right.
Like objective, like subjectively or objectively, but it was. I mean, I can appreciate it for what it is, and it's
okay. Okay, I was just
good for it. Good. I say good for Leonard for doing his best. I think he tried hard.
Well, you never know. We might return and take a look at his So the Headless Horseman. So that's something to look forward to, Ron.
Sure.
Right. We are out of here.
Where are we going next?
Well, let me check.
Are we finally finished? Are we going upstate or?
I think we've been upstate. We're going downstate.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I think we are finally leaving New York City.
We're still in the state. Still in New York State.
No. I think we're totally leaving. I think.
Goodbye, New York.
Let me find my list here. Here we go. The Septic Shock road trip map. And next we are headed towards. No, sorry. Spoke too soon. There's one more stop. We haven't been to Staten Island yet.
Staten Island.
And Staten Island is very important because, of course, that's where Andy Milligan made his film. So we would be remiss if we didn't pop in with Mr. Milligan. At the very least, yeah, I should warn you, we might be in for another 2 Staten Island episodes, possibly. But we're definitely doing one. Anyway, yes, until next time on Septic Shock Road Trip, here's some garage rock from the 60s and New York-y area. Those all.
Yeah.